All right, Jet fans, the trade deadline has come and gone. The Jets have moved Leonard Williams to the New York Giants, and what does all the drama surrounding Jamal Adams mean for us moving forward? Jets, Jets, Jets! Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Guys, there's a lot of stuff to go over. We have the Leonard Williams trade. Everyone is up in arms about the Le'Veon Bell and Jamal Adams and all the potential rumors surrounding Robbie Anderson and everyone else on our team. What is going on? Guys, let me try to explain it. First, let's go into the Leonard Williams trade. The Giants gave up a 2020 third-round pick and a 2021 fifth-round pick that could turn into a fourth-round pick if Leonard Williams signs a contract with the Giants. This is the first trade between the two franchises since 1983, and since Joe Douglas has been here, he has now made trades with the Giants and with the Patriots, so there's that. So I really like this move. I think Douglas did a good job getting value out of Leonard Williams. Yeah, he was a sixth overall pick, and you want to see a first or second rounder out of him. But realistically, we weren't going to re-sign him. He was on borrowed time since we drafted Quinnen Williams. So you look at what we got. Dante Fowler last year was traded for a third and a fifth round pick, and he has arguably a better player profile. He's more likely to get sacks than Leonard Williams is. Leonard Williams is more of a run defender and an eat up the offensive lineman kind of type player. So to get a third and a fifth, potentially a third and a fourth round pick is definitely on point. If you watch my Leonard Williams trade rumor video, I expected us to get a third round pick plus a player. I expected the Chiefs maybe to be a team that could be in the mix. The Texans were a team that sort of jumped in there as far as rumors with J.J. Watt going down. I'll admit I did not see the Giants coming with this one. I think it's really good for Leonard Williams. So first and foremost, I really like Leonard. I wish him the best of luck playing with the Giants. I really don't have any bad feelings towards him. I just think that the Jets needed to move on from him because we weren't going to sign him anyway. Trading him to the Giants, at least he gets to stay in New Jersey. He doesn't have to sell his house. It's the same commute to work for the most part. I like that for a player. I would like to see that happen more. I mean, we see players leave in free agency and stay around, but it's nice to see him stay in the local area. So for the Jets and for Leonard Williams, it both looks like a win. I would imagine the Giants probably have some type of confirmation that Leonard Williams is going to sign a deal with them. You don't trade a third and a fifth round pick for a player that's only going to be a half-year rental, especially a team like the Giants who don't seem like they're going to be going to the playoffs this year. It would be a very odd maneuver in that fashion. And for the Giants' perspective, you're getting the sixth best player from that draft, hopefully. I mean, that's the ideal situation. Hopefully he can regain some of that form and produce for pennies on the dollar. So from a Giants perspective, while it does leave me scratching my head a little bit, I think they're voting, or at least hoping, that the upside for Leonard Williams is there in the long term. All right, now time to get into the juicy parts of this video. According to reports, Sam Darnold and Quinnen Williams were the only two players that were safe at the trade deadline, which by process of elimination means everyone else is potentially up for grabs. Le'Veon Bell, Robbie Anderson, and Jamal Adams were the three names that everyone were really buzzing about yesterday. Apparently, teams were calling about Le'Veon Bell. I do not believe for a second that was really anything that we wanted to have happen. We owe him $13.5 million. It would be a $13.5 million cap hit on this year if we were to move him. So it doesn't make sense from a financial standpoint. Plus, you're trying to grade Sam. You're trying to give him weapons. Taking away, his best weapon right now seems like one of the worst ideas that you could really do.
I am happy as hell to be a New York Jet. I'm happy to be here despite all the trade rumors and talks. I am here and I am happy to be here.
As far as Robbie Anderson's concerned, I kind of follow the same logic. You don't want to make your team weaker, especially when you're trying to help your quarterback that, we already have a terrible offensive line. Don't take away more, weapons or firepower away from the offense just to move them. It was reported that the Jets were looking for a second-round pick, hence the second-round tender that the Jets placed on him at the beginning of the season. The highest value that I heard possibly being reported was a fourth-round pick, and I don't believe you should trade Robbie for a fourth-round pick, even if you're going to let him walk at the end of this season. And there's a few things that we could learn from this, right? So we don't move Robbie, which means he could walk at the end of the year. He could be, he's going to be a free agent. Unless the Jets want to sign him long-term, they're going to let him walk. Now, if Robbie walks, there is the potential for the Jets to recoup a compensatory pick. A third-round pick would be the highest that could go. Unfortunately, the Jets have so many holes and so much money in cap space that the Jets are going to be big spenders in free agency, and the formula that works out that works out if you get a compensation pick is going to go against us. And realistically, we're not going to get a compensation pick for Robbie. By them showing that there wasn't a lot of trade interest, maybe that helps facilitate a deal earlier. I think there is some hesitation with the Jets and Robbie because Robbie has had some questionable issues pop up in the past. And I think they're worried if they give him a ton of money, what kind of repercussions is that going to carry? Now, maybe the Jets can get him for a slightly lower deal because they showed him that the value isn't quite there. He gets guaranteed money, earlier than the end of this season. So if he gets injured, he gets a little bit of help there. I would be okay with that. I don't want to pay Robbie a crazy ton of money that I think he may want to command or he may be able to get on the free agent market. So realistically, the Jets are either going to have to sign him or he's going to walk, and we're probably going to get nothing for him. But we're going to be able to surround Sam with some weapons, at least for the duration of this season. And now for the final topic of discussion today. It's something that has Jet fans pulling their hair out all over the place and saying, please say it ain't so. Especially someone who just bought his jersey. Jamal Adams was reportedly on the trade block. There was a whole lot of rumors swirling around yesterday. Now, what happened? When did this all start? What does it all mean? Apparently, after the Cleveland game, when Jamal was benched because Adam Gase said he wanted him to cool down, he didn't want to lose him for future games or get suspended just because he was playing a little hot, a little too fast, I guess. The day after that game, Jamal Adams removed the Jets from his social media profile, and that, according to Joe Douglas, is when teams started contacting the Jets about a potential trade. As the trade deadline got closer, you heard these rumors grow louder. There were even teams being reported, Baltimore and the Cowboys, as making offers to the Jets and trying to figure out about Jamal's availability. Now, the Cowboys offered a first-round pick and a third-day pick, so that could have been a fourth through seventh rounder. We don't know exactly what that was. They offered that for Jamal Adams, and the Jets did not bite. They said, no, you know what, that's not enough value. We value Adams higher than that. And apparently, according to all the sources, the Jets have a very high price tag on Jamal, which they should. He's one of the best safeties in the NFL. It was reported that Douglas and Jamal both met and talked about a potential trade or, what could possibly happen. And Jamal came out and said that's absolutely false. He met with Joe Douglas and said, hey, I really want to be a New York Jet. This is where I want to stay. And he went behind my back and said, you know what? Let's move him. Let's try to trade him against his wishes. Now, what's interesting about that tweet is Jamal sent that out while Joe Douglas was actually doing an interview on the Michael Kay show. And they were able to ask Douglas on the spot, hey, this tweet just came out. What do you have to say about it? Did you promise Jamal that he would be on the team long term? Now, he did acknowledge that he met with Jamal. He knows that he wants to be a Jet. And he also said, look, I did not reach out to teams trying to shop Jamal. There were teams that called the Jets, and that is part of my job. I have to pick up the phone, and I have to at least listen. And the fact that they were offered a first-round pick plus more for Jamal shows that they value him at a very high level. They're not just going to move him for anything. I think that should say a lot about that particular situation. It's never good when the face of your franchise is having a public dispute with ownership and the GM structure and everything. It's not very clean. And there's, like everyone says, there's always three sides to every story. There's side A, side B, and then the truth is somewhere in the middle. So I'm going to try and go down all these different avenues so we can kind of dissect what's going on with this Jamal Adams situation and what he could be seeing, what Douglas could be seeing, and what I believe to be somewhere in the middle. As far as Jamal's point of view goes, he's been a part of winning cultures his entire career. It's understandable how frustrated he is being on the Jets and losing the way he has. He is in the prime of his career, and, you want to see him. You want to see the Jets, or you want to see a team in general, take advantage of how good this guy is. Now, Ryan Clark has also come out and said that he's had conversations with Jamal Adams about Jamal's desire to play in his home state. His home state, if you don't know, is from Texas. There are two teams that are doing very well in Texas right now. You got the Texans and you have the Cowboys. The Cowboys seem like the obvious trade partner that the Jets could possibly swing. They have a lot of draft capital, or at least enough draft capital to be sufficient for the Jets. They have, the NFC conference, so you're shipping him out of conference. You're not going to see him in the AFC if you do this. And, there's a passion there. It wasn't that Jamal was a Dallas fan growing up. It's, I haven't heard anything like that. But I think he would eventually like to go there at some point. I didn't like Jamal coming out and saying that, he had issues with the GM. I would prefer him to not air out his grievances on social media. That doesn't seem like a very mature way to handle things. Although if he felt like he was being betrayed, that's the first thing that came to his mind. I would have preferred that to happen behind closed doors. Just talk it out, figure it out. Don't let the media get a bunch of bunch of content to run with. From the Jets side of things, it's Joe Douglas's job to make the Jets a better team. And you might say, hey, if the Jets think so highly of Jamal Adams, why would you even entertain phone calls? This doesn't make any sense.
I kind of found out through a couple of reliable people that I have a lot of trust in that I was being, shopped around. At the end of the day, I know he has a job to do, and I respect it. But I hold myself in a high regard. I've done everything, they've asked me to do since I've been here for the 3 years. I didn't take that lightly. I really didn't. But when I heard that I got the call, that my agent called me and he told me what was going on, it definitely hurt me. You know what I mean? I hold myself at a high level. The Rams don't take calls on Aaron Donald. The Patriots don't take calls on Tom Brady. You know what I mean? That's where I hold myself in that regard. So
look at the way that Mike Maccagnan has left this team. We have not drafted an offensive lineman in the first round since 2006. That's over 13 years now. And when you look at the guys that are up on contracts, Shell, Beachum, Khalil are all done at the end of this season. Osemele's already gone. You have Brian Winters, who could definitely be upgraded from. It looks like the only two players you might be able to hold on to and might be pieces moving forward are Alex Lewis and Chuma Edoga. Now, you might be saying, hey, there's a few ways you can address these areas. Obviously, left tackle Trent Williams was the hot name, the Redskins left tackle that was not happy with the Redskins. He wanted to trade. He wanted to be out of there. Now, if you're the Jets, this is a 31-year-old left tackle who they want a first-round pick for, and he has not played a complete season since 2013. So there's that, are the Jets good enough right now to justify giving up a first-round pick and a high first-round pick, probably a top 10 pick, to a 31-year-old left tackle? I don't think that makes sense. I don't think that was ever really in the cards. Not to mention the Jets just had this very public dispute with Kalichi Osemele about, the health team not clearing him for a surgery, and that's basically what's going on with the Redskins and Trent Williams, so I don't think there's any real connection there either. The next area you look towards is free agency. The Jets could fill some potential gaps in free agency, but it doesn't look like any good offensive linemen or any good young offensive linemen are going to be hitting the market. Not to mention the Jets are not a very hot topic team as it stands right now. And you got to remember, these players have the choice of where they want to go. We might have a bunch of money, but there's a bunch of teams that are really good, or at least better than the Jets, that they would prefer to possibly go to. Now, with trades and free agency both kind of being pushed out of the mix a little bit in terms of ways to rebuild this offensive line, you look towards the draft. Now, the Jets have 4 picks inside the top 3 rounds. So the naive fan in me could say, hey, we have 3 holes that we need to fill in the offensive line. First round pick, second round pick, third round pick. Who cares? Double dip in the third round. We're going to fix the offensive line in that one clean shot. That's a little naive to think that you're going to get all those picks to hit at the same time. So you're looking at probably a 2-year rebuild for this offensive line. Realistically, if you really want to boil it down, Le'Veon Bell's contract is basically a 2-year deal. So you get him for next year. You might want to hold on to him a year after that, but realistically, the way this contract is built, it was really just a 2-year deal. When you look at 2 years' time, you have Sam Darnold, who's going to be going into his 5th year option. This is a year where you're going to need to decide whether or not you're going to pay Sam Darnold big money. That contract is probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 million. It is going to be an absolutely massive contract. You got to remember, Patrick Mahomes is going to get his deal. Deshaun Watson's going to get his deal before that. So these contracts are only going to keep going up. And remember that Joe Douglas did not draft Jamal Adams. I'm sure Joe Douglas is looking at the Washington Redskins, who just paid a ton of money to Landon Collins, and are looking at them. Their team stinks. All-pro safety is just not making the impact that you need to see the wins on the back end. Jamal Adams deserves to be paid the highest paid safety salary when that time comes up. He has been an all-pro player. He has been a great teammate. He's recruited for the Jets. All these things are absolute positives. That's not the issue with Jamal. The issue is that he is so valuable right now. He has 2.5 years remaining on his rookie contract, and that's where the value lies. That is an affordable contract that a team in the Super Bowl hunt, playoff hunt, could add to their roster without crippling their cap situation. Trading Jamal Adams doesn't just wreck the locker room, it wrecks the PR for the Jets. Jamal is probably our most loved Jet player at this particular point in time, and if you move him, you're going to have to deal with the backlash of that. But if Joe Douglas is able to justify moving Jamal and making the Jets better, that is part of his job. So what do I think of this whole situation? My gut is telling me that Jamal Adams is probably going to be traded prior to the draft. And I think the Jets talking about potential trades right now is a way for the fan base to kind of get warmed up to the idea of this happening and not just being the rip the Band-Aid off kind of thing that the Odell Beckham trade was. And I also think that Jamal, in his situation, the way he sent out that tweet, he knew what that was going to do for the Jets, and I think he's leveraging himself to kind of have one foot out the door. And that's probably what irritates me the most, is that I really believe this guy wants to be here, but if he's kind of, got this side piece that he's talking about or kind of thinking about in the back end, some of this stuff comes off as disingenuous, and I think that tweet came off as, hey, I'm leaving myself a backdoor exit in case this goes sideways. I think he ultimately winds up with the Cowboys. He'll get what he wants going home to Texas. The Jets will definitely get a first-round pick for him. It's what else will they get? Now, I'm sure the Jets are going to try and get 2 first-round picks. The Cowboys have a lot of good offensive linemen, though. If the Jets feel that they can get a starting offensive lineman plus a first-round pick, now that's something that has me piqued, has my ears, perked up just a little bit. Like, I'll listen to this. As far as players that the Cowboys could potentially trade, La'el Collins, the right tackle, 26 years old, would result in a $10 million dead cap hit for the Cowboys. We would have him under contract till 2024. Center Travis Frederick, 28 years old, an $11 million dead cap hit for the Cowboys. We would have him under contract till 2023. Zach Martin, the right guard, 28 years old, $12 million dead cap hit. Jets would have him under contract till 2024. Tyron Smith, the left tackle, 28 years old, $5 million dead cap hit, and the Jets would have him under contract through 2023. Realistically, one of these guys would be a significant upgrade over anyone on our offensive line. So it's probably going to come down to, are the Cowboys willing to part ways with any one of these potential players? With Dak Prescott being a pretty good mobile quarterback, I think the argument is there that they can sacrifice one of those linemen and still have a successful offense while getting an all-pro safety on the back end of their defense. Now, it's going to come down to who the Cowboys feel they can get by without. They do have Amari Cooper and Dak Prescott, who are both going to need big contracts right now. Adding in a stud safety on a rookie contract is something that could drastically help this defense while also unloading a little bit of the cap space from one of these high-paid offensive linemen. So I think this is an area that the Jets should probably look to address. If we can get a starting offensive lineman, plus have 5 picks in the first 3 rounds, including 2 first-rounders that could help us get a pass rusher, a wide receiver, a cornerback, more offensive linemen, this is something that could really revamp the Jets team as a whole and could possibly have us competing as early as next year. Guys, let me know what you think down below. And as always, go Jets.